Hi guys, this is the 10th video tutorial of J2WG. So far we discussed how to connect a database and how to use database after creating a database we have to use the database, then we'll be creating tables inside a database, then we'll actually perform some set of operations like creating a record inside a table and deleting a record and updating a record. So all these operations, and we have performed the CRUD operations as I mentioned. So we performed all the operations using the SQL client, which is MySQL workbench. And now our intention is to not to use the default the database client. We want to use our Java program to communicate between the database. So that is how we can able to make our application dynamic. So what is JDBC? JDBC means Java Database Connectivity. So JDBC is an API. API means which contains a set of classes and interfaces which belongs to the database connectivity related. And this JDBC API will actually provide Java to make the capability of communicating with database. Suppose if you take this as an Java application, suppose this is your Java application. And we have a database. So database can be anything, not only the MySQL. We can have any database we can choose at your choice. That is the reason I just mentioned my database itself instead of MySQL or Oracle or DB2 and all. You can have any database over here. So our intention is to communicate this Java application to database to perform the SQL operations, like what all operations we did in previous tutorial, like insert queries and update queries, delete queries, and create table. All the operations, what are the SQL queries we performed using MySQL workbench. We want to do the same set of operations using Java application so that our Java application makes dynamic. So for that, we, as I mentioned, we have an API which is JDBC API. So JDBC API contains a set of classes which actually used to communicate to database. So these also a Java. So it contains a Java classes only. With the help of JDBC API, what our Java application will do is it actually imports this Java API classes, JDBC classes, then it actually try to communicate with database. So the JDBC API is, we can say, the physically how it looks like. It's a jar file. The name will be jdbc.jar. So these the name we have initially. After Oracle bought Java, then they have renamed it as OJDBC. O means Oracle. OJDBC.jar, which actually a physical file. We can directly import this jar file to your project. Like suppose if you have a project like this, core Java application or something, with the libraries, system libraries we have, right? Additionally, you can add your own libraries. The jar file, if you add it, then all the classes within this OJDBC jar you can able to access in your Java application. Now we have the classes are ready, which are actually used to communicate to database, but we need one more layer to communicate because Java is having different syntaxes. So it's a programming language, but database is actually a SQL queries based database. So we need a SQL language to communicate to database, but this is having a Java with a different syntax. So we need a mediator which knows both the languages. So we need mediator which actually knows both the languages, like it should know Java programming language and it should know the database programming language, which is called as JDBC driver. So JDBC driver is the one which knows both the languages, which actually communicates, which actually behaves as a mediator between Java application and database. So with these features, our Java application can able to communicate with database in bidirectional. So it can able to perform insert, create operation or update operations on database, or it can able to get the results from the database and it can able to read it within the Java application. So this is called as JDBC driver. So in real time also, suppose if we have one person with a one language and the other person is from different country who knows different language, so we will be keeping one mediator who knows both the languages, so that this mediator will actually help both the parties to make understand their communication better. The same way, JDBC driver will actually helps to Java application to understand the database language better, and it actually get the data from database. Again, JDBC driver actually convert the data into the Java program understandable language. Again, once the Java application is sending some set of code, and actually JDBC driver actually sends that format the SQL queries and it will actually give it to database, and the database, within database the operation will be performed. So to consolidate, what is the benefit of using JDBC? The first one will be connect to database, any database, and the second one will be execute queries. I can say SQL queries. The third one will be retrieve results, or the data from the database. So all these operations can be possible with JDBC library. Now we can see how actually we can able to communicate with the database, and what and all different classes we have, and what are different ways to communicate. So it comes to the major discussion about the JDBC driver. So what and all different types of drivers we have in the industry. So how actually differs each of them, and which is the best one we have to choose. So this discussion we can discuss in next tutorial. Thanks guys. Thanks for watching.